Hi, I'm Chris McClure, and this is my ePortfolio highlight video for AEP 879. I'd like to first start with my annotated bibliography. I read and reviewed 36 sources. Each of the sources added to my knowledge in some aspect of education or leadership. I also became somewhat proficient with APA 7, although as you can see right there, I did have to make a few adjustments. Next, I have my activity log form and spreadsheet, and I use this form and spreadsheet to document the artifacts that I mostly created during the program courses as evidence for each program learning outcome component. For this, I utilized 24 artifacts. 6 of those were district, 7 were elementary, and 11 secondary, which is the level at which I currently teach and hope to be an administrator. Some of the artifacts were created based on activities that I engaged in outside of the requirements for the coursework. Next, we have our activity component tracker. So similar to the previous form, I went through with each component that I had, and I marked which component that it met, which standard it met. So every artifact was either district, elementary, or secondary, and I had one for each. And that helped me keep track of, or sometimes 2 for each. That helped me keep track of making sure that I got each component recognized as I was going through and keeping track of my artifacts. Next, we have our district level artifact slideshow. And so in this slideshow, I again demonstrated the artifacts that I had used and reflected upon those. Every of the 6 district artifacts that I have, they're each listed here and described and reviewed. Then I had my elementary level artifact slideshow, very similar, just at the elementary level. I did find it difficult at times to get artifacts or get information at the elementary level, just because I am so rarely at that level, having taught high school my entire career, with the exception of 2 years where I also taught a little bit of 7th and 8th grade business. But so you can see here, this is information on assessments that we had at the elementary school, and I was working with the teachers during an in-service so that I could have this artifact to have for the elementary. But difficult for me to do that because I have so little experience at that elementary level. And then the last slideshow was for the high school or secondary. Much easier for me there because I'm used to it, and that's why I actually had 11 artifacts that I had, even though we were not required to have that many. It was just easier for me to have those available because that's the work that I'd done in the coursework was mostly geared towards the high school level. So I covered some of the standards more than once. Then the administrative verification forms. Again, the first one I have here is from our elementary school principal, Soderstrom Elementary. Good guy, but you can see he did not have a lot of supervision of me, or did not see a lot of what I did. Just a couple of things where, like I mentioned, with the grade school staff that I had done, and of course I showed him my completed ePortfolio, but most of it there just wasn't the interaction with him, and he didn't have an opportunity to see any of the leadership or the artifacts that I had done. The second one was with Mr. Lee, who is my current high school principal. Mr. Lee and I talked frequently over the last 15 months, which is how long I've been in the program, about different aspects of his job and leadership and why we do things the way we do and how is Smoky Valley doing it compared to the Salina district where he was before and those kinds of things. So Mr. Lee gave me a good evaluation and felt really, really good talking to him because he was so helpful and open to what we were doing. And every question I had, he had an answer for me and was very open about what he had learned and the things that he was doing. When it came to like our funding, he still is confused by some of the funding we do. This is his third year, just the way that Smoky Valley takes different funding for different activities and how we register that. And so we had good discussions on those kinds of things. And then lastly was our superintendent, Mr. Heath Hogan. This is his first year with us. So you can see he marked some of the things as yes, a couple of them as no because he wasn't there to see him, and then one NA. But I have been part of the hiring process. One day I was the principal on duty at the middle school because the middle school principal was out. We talked about my philosophy of leadership and building relationships. Like I said, I've been in the hiring process. I've done a lot of supervision, so he was able to mark yes on a lot of those that he's observed just in the last 7 or 8 months that he's been here. So those are my verification forms. And then the last thing that I'll discuss with you tonight was my program reflection. I am not very big on reflecting, so these kinds of activities are difficult for me. The explanation and those exploration stage were not as difficult as the analysis stage. Again, difficult for me to look internally and see some of that stuff. So a lot of that has been done over the last 15 months in these courses, and I think that's helped me to understand myself better, really understand my wife a little bit better, but then also understand the requirements of the job. And then hopefully I synthesized it fairly well, and maybe I need to fix something there, but then listing the activities that I really remembered and reflecting upon those activities that helped me to understand my potential job and the job of our administration here in each of the courses that we had. So I think that is it as far as the activities from the ePortfolio, with the exception of this highlight video, which I am currently finished with. So thank you very much for a good semester and a good 15 months worth of education. Really been beneficial to me, and still not sure if I'm going to use it here in my old age, but at least I will have the ability to be an administrator if I so choose and someone decides to take a chance on me. So, thank you and good night.